Hey world, it's Bean Willie coming back with another video. Fam, I'm gonna make sure I tell you that I really appreciate you guys, like, sharing, and subscribing to the channel, kicking with me in the garden. Very humbling, I'm very appreciative. But I wanna say something today that, like I said, I'm not Nostradamus, but I said this months ago, almost a year ago, how this economy was a bubble and it eventually was gonna burst. And not just on speculation, but on like some real data that has been collected, for centuries, that actually can pretty much predict whether or not the market is going to crash, go to a recession, and so forth, right? And if you watch my videos and been in the garden, you've heard me talk about something called the market capitalization to GDP. That's the total value of the stock market, right, in comparison to the total value of the gross domestic product, which is all the goods and services, produced in the country. And that's calculated per quarter, and it's calculated annually, which is every 3 months, quarter, and then of course 12 months annually. And so to get a pretty good idea how your country is doing, you can pretty much look at those two numbers, right? Well, right now, to see whether or not you're in a stock market that's overvalued, you look at the market cap to GDP. And there's a percentage, and I talked about this in the garden a while ago, how, a valuable market where it's good to invest would be like 90%, 98%, 97%, right? Undervalued market would be something like in the 90s, the 80s, 70s, the percentile, which gives you an indication that that's a good time to start, investing. Well, when there's a discrepancy with that number and the gross domestic product, which is all the goods and services produced in a quarter or a year, then, it's time to worry, because the country isn't doing this, the country is doing worse than the stock market. And so you got to ask, what's up with that, right? And so right now, our market cap to GDP was like 146%. And before, it got all the way up to like 160%. So this one I was saying that the stock market was going to actually go through a recession or it's going to crash. That's the only reason I was saying that. And this whole indicator is what they call the Warren Buffett indicator. That's how he's been able to be rich for so long and gain wealth, because he look at those numbers. And if you look at it from a common sense standpoint, family, it makes sense, okay? When your stock market is worth like $36, $37 trillion, and your GDP is like only $21, $22 trillion, then that's a huge discrepancy, How is it that Wall Street is doing way better than what the country is producing? That means there's going to be a lot of people that can't, get into that. They can't afford it, right? Because if the market is worth that much, that means the stock prices are very high, which they are. And that's why it's overvalued. But guess what? It's getting into that stage that doing that space where you want to start looking at investing. Remember, I think like in February, beginning of February, the Dow Jones were like at 29,000, 28,000 points. It's at 18,000 points right now, right? It's like a 35% drop. So I think when it's a 20% drop, that's you're in a recession. So we basically family. We're basically in a worse situation than a recession. So it's like it's really going to crash. So you can pretty much wait a little bit longer to start investing, or you can start getting into it right now. And if you get into it right now, family, make sure you do your research before you invest in anything. Like I said, it's for entertainment purposes only. But make sure you do your research. All right? Like I said, if I just want to come back with a little food for thought on that, kind of give you a little information about why it's important to start investing and when is a good time. I mean, right now we're in a recession, and normally, the people that are in the know have been saving their money for a long time for this moment. So, okay? But that doesn't mean if you ain't got the cash, you can't do it. You can also do what they call dollar cost average. It's not to say right now that the market's not going to go lower. So if you start investing right now and it go lower, all that means is you need to buy more. You dig? So, like I said, fam, I'm going to come back with a little bit more information later on. I'm on my way back to H-Town. Like I said, in the meantime, between time, may the Most High Saudi bring you joy and being with us out of 5,000.